Good morning, everybody. I'd like to request you to please wear your headphones and turn on to channel 2 because it's going to be a silent session. Channel 2, the headset. We'd like to welcome everybody who is in the session, and thank you very much for making time on this Thursday morning. It's not always easy on the last day of the conference to be this early. So thank you very much for coming and attending. My name is George Wainaina from Sandek Iyawag. At Sandek, we do research on solid waste and water. And I'm joined, I will be chairing this session, and I'm joined with Palisa from World Bank, who will be moderating the online side of the session. And we will also have Erica, also from the World Bank, who will be supporting with displaying the QR codes for the interactions that we are going to have in the session. We'll be talking about disruptive technologies in sanitation and hygiene. And we are looking forward to an exciting session. And we hope that we will do 3 things. We will learn, we will contribute, and eventually we will network and come up with ideas that we can push forward in all our individual organizations and in a collaborative manner. To set the stage for the session, we are happy to have distinguished panelists and distinguished speakers. And I would like to invite Brian Arbogast. Brian Arbogast is the director of the WASH team at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And he is in charge of research and development and scaling technologies for sanitation to the global end. I think he will say more about himself along the way. So please, stage is yours.
Good morning, all, both here in the room and online. I actually do not plan to say anything more about myself. I'm going to dive right into the context of this session, which is exciting. You know, we, as you see on the screen, we're going to talk about disruptive technologies, and it's interesting. I'm going to project Clayton Christensen, who wrote a book about and actually coined the phrase disruptive technologies over 25 years ago. His original insight into disruptive technologies is you're going to hear about some products that would match that definition, and then you're probably going to hear about some products and ideas that don't really match that definition. His definition of disruptive technologies was coming in at a low price point, serving people that weren't otherwise served at all, and then using that and disrupting from below. It's a classic market entry strategy, but one that he really helped shine a light on from a broad strategic perspective. Now, frankly, many of us use the term disruptive technologies for anything that shakes things up, that causes a market to really change in terms of the competitive dynamics. If Clayton was here, he'd be very dissatisfied with that. He'd say that's not a disruptive technology, that's a transformative technology. So we didn't, all of us on the panel, we didn't talk about this in advance, so you'll hear disruptive, you may hear transformative. But the exciting thing is what we are going to hear about is innovation. And we're going to hear about innovation that we believe has some relevance to achieving our goals. In this case, the goals of achieving SDG 6.2 and reaching everyone with safely managed sanitation services. If you've been in many sanitation sessions this week, you've probably heard a lot about citywide inclusive sanitation. And so the idea that what we really need to be focused on, whether you're an elected official at a city level, at the national level, trying to come up with regulatory approaches, institutional frameworks, how do we make sure that we're not just incrementally getting 5% more folks connected to a network or getting services through some fashion or another, going from maybe 35% coverage in a city to 40%. Citywide inclusive sanitation is like, what's it going to take to reach everyone in a city with sustainable, safe, equitable services? And that takes a completely different approach, because it means you need to start by thinking about the hardest to reach, the folks in the informal settlements where maybe the trucks can't get into those settlements. The roads are too narrow. There are so many different challenges, and citywide inclusive sanitation is all about basically demanding and challenging city authorities and the national authorities that oversee them to step up to that challenge, to say, okay, we are going to be accountable for reaching everyone. Now, what you'll see in all the CWI's discussions in literature, it's about, first of all, making sure somebody has that mandate, because in a lot of cities today, nobody has the mandate for making sure everybody gets services. Oftentimes, somebody has the mandate for everybody that gets connected to a sewer, and maybe the rest of the city, it might be that there's nobody with the mandate to deliver on that. That is changing. We are seeing good progress in terms of mandate. Now, regulators then imposing accountability, setting KPIs and targets, and setting up incentives so that the operators deliver on those needs. That's the next required step. Of course, those operators need to have access to the systems, to the resources, to the staffing to be able to deliver against the challenge of citywide inclusive sanitation. And that's where I think in a world where an entity feels accountable for reaching everyone, I think it will become pretty quickly clear to them that they don't have all the tools that they need today in their toolbox, that they need new innovations. Now, this talks about innovative technologies, but innovations can come in many forms. Technologies, business models, new ways of financing, new partnership models, especially when what you're looking at is how do we basically solve that last mile problem of, in this case, delivering services to every household. So I'm super excited about the session as it's planned. You're going to hear a lot about innovation and about disruptive technologies. And as I hand it off back to George, I want to tee up, you're going to see, I believe, 4 videos. They give you a different sense of what disruptive technologies can look like, and then a very interesting set of panelists that have different but very relevant perspectives on this exact challenge. So back to you, George. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian, for the nice setting of the pace. So incremental versus disruptive versus transformative. So let's get thinking on the direction that we want to go. So we are going to have a look at 4 videos about organizations that are trying to come up or that are disrupting the industry at different stages. So if I could quickly request the tech team to please play these 4 videos.
Hi, this is Robert from Practica. To accomplish citywide inclusive sanitation, various latrine emptying solutions are needed. Unfortunately, there are not many products on the local market. Trash, thick sludge, poor accessibility, and often the absence of services makes the emptying of toilets difficult. Our team has been working on the poo-poo pump since 2020, which is now on its way to become a complementary practical solution for pit emptying in urban locations. Poo-poo stands for pull and push. Air from a small compressor operates the pump and also supports the mixing of sludge prior to pumping. Flexible valves enable the pumping of thicker sludge and debris. The unit is parked close to the pit, while it pushes the sludge to a vehicle parked at a distance.
Play down move.
Working closely with practitioners is essential to come up with a good design. understand the interest, and solve practical hurdles. The equipment was put to use with 6 pit emptying businesses in 4 countries during the course of 1 year. The speed of operation and the low OPEX and CAPEX triggers financial gains, which we think is where it is all about. With the high urbanization rates, increased low-income areas, and programs for sanitation marketing, the demand for pit emptying services is in a high rise. The poo-poo can serve a potential bigger market of customers, while being used by both manual emptiers and mechanized emptying businesses, or perhaps a new line of professional businesses that can emerge. Now, a key barrier for pit emptying equipment is the current lack of local availability. A business, NGO, or utility needs to see it, hear from it, and get access to units, spares, and guarantees locally. We believe the establishment of dealerships, contextualization, and regional support hubs can be key drivers for momentum. Support programs are needed to accelerate in-country demonstrations and awareness creation in stakeholder platforms. This can enable the transition from proven innovation towards disruptive intervention.
My name is Jacinta, and I'm a partner at Freak Labs. Today, I'll be talking about a monitoring system we developed as part of a larger infrastructure project to connect small towns to the official sewage network in Egypt. Almost 90% of households in small towns are not connected to the main sewage network. They pay almost 5 times the monthly maintenance costs compared to a connected household. The septic trucks are slow, and the private companies running the trucks maximise the number of households they service and their income by illegally dumping septic into canals that run into the Nile. So the Egyptian government created the Sustainable Rural Sanitation Services Program with engineering and financial support from the World Bank. The project will upgrade rural sanitation networks and connect over 350,000 households to an official septic network. In the upgrade proposals, private septic trucks emptied into local communal septic tanks, which would then be serviced by government trucks. The households could then be counted as connected. Monitoring where the private trucks discharge was critical to verifying the septic was emptied at safe discharge points. So how does it work? A device attached to the truck records its GPS location and reads the septic levels in the tank every minute. Every 10 minutes, it sends the data to the internet via the local 2G or 3G cell network. Once it's on the internet, an application flags if there's any discrepancies between the discharge point and the designated drop-off point. If there is, it sends an alert via email or SMS so appropriate action can be taken. When designing the system, we considered cost, scalability, and long-term maintenance from the outset. For example, we use commonly available components often used in smartphones and PCs. We designed for mass production to tap into our existing networks of factories and suppliers, and we planned for capacity building that would be needed for repairs and maintenance. It was also important to identify different roles and responsibilities early on. For example, operators to provision devices and respond to alerts, and government to create enforcement policies. The system was designed in collaboration through discussions and feedback. This didn't mean everyone wanted the technology, but it was important all voices were involved. Institutionally, constraints for adoption included who would be responsible for running and maintaining the system, and what the alert escalation would look like. The system would add workload and require additional financial and personnel resources. Who would pay for it all, especially in the long term? The water and sanitation companies were reluctant to take on the extra responsibilities, and the drivers didn't want it on their trucks. Technically, constraints included building the skill sets required to operate and maintain the system. Scaling challenges included building relationships so local tank manufacturers would mount the devices, and clearing government import requirements for sensitive technologies such as GPS. In addition, different government departments and WSCs had separate IT systems that this system would need to integrate into. Socially, septic tanks are seen as lower quality, and people wanted to be connected directly to the sewage network. Other considerations were how to prevent things like solar panels and batteries from being stolen and tampering. Finally, there were data privacy considerations for private citizens and the septic truck companies. Technologies become disruptive when the social, economic, political, and technical conditions allow for it to be widely adopted and adapted, and overcoming obstacles requires a multidisciplined approach. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Linda Strande. I lead the research group MUSE Management of Excreta, Wastewater, and Sludge at the Swiss Federal Institute of Aquatic Science and Technology. In this presentation, I'm going to give you a quick introduction to our Sludge Snap app. We developed this app in order to fill a huge gap in urban sanitation. People have been designing and operating centralized sewer-based treatment plants for over 100 years. But a huge wealth of experience like this has not yet been established for fecal sludge. Fecal sludge is much more variable than municipal wastewater, and the knowledge cannot just be transferred. For example, the differences in this slide are of COD, or chemical oxygen demand, at the same treatment plant. Laboratory analysis is expensive, requires infrastructure and chemical supply chains, and is also too slow for real-time adaptive management of treatment plants. This app could provide a bridge in order to fill these gaps. We developed this approach because practitioners note changes in color and odor of sludges based on certain characteristics and dewatering properties. We wanted to see if we could harness this experience. So in Lusaka, Zambia, we fully characterized 465 samples of fecal sludge from different containments and took a photo of each sample. This was a time-consuming and expensive process, but we then developed predictive models with machine learning and image analysis. So in the future, these values could be predicted with a picture or probe measurement rather than time-consuming and expensive analysis. This trial validated that the relationships exist and can be used for quantitative predictions. The app is based on a database that was generated for only one city. In order to make the results globally applicable, the database needs to be expanded to more regions. A difficulty or risk of scaling up is that the laboratory characterization needs to be done in an especially rigorous fashion in order to ensure that the generated models are accurate. This will require additional funding for the sample collection and data analysis and for project management to ensure a consistent approach. The current version provides reasonable estimates for Lusaka. For example, if the total solids of a sample is 20 grams per liter, the Sludge Snap app will predict a value that's between 7 to 33 grams per liter. This level of accuracy could provide improved estimates for loading of settling tanks, drying beds, conditioner dosing, or design of treatment plants. In the meantime, we've continued advancing our research knowledge of color and sensor data and believe that with our expertise, an expanded database would also increase accuracy of the predictions. So please check out our website or feel free to contact me for more information.
Hello, I'm Sylvia Kengere and I'm the new markets coordinator at Sanitation. Sanitation is a social enterprise dedicated to providing citywide sanitation services in African secondary cities. Our journey has taken us through various stages. Currently, Sanitation provides a range of services across the sanitation value chain, including master planning and waste collection. Today, we'll be focusing on our waste-to-value treatment plants. In Kenya, local water utilities struggle with the new mandate of sanitation, and the national government and the FI struggle with finding bankable projects. Our treatment plan focuses on harnessing resources and lowering operating costs. As you can see in the photos from Naivasha, we receive fecal sludge at our facility from public or private exhauster trucks and treat it and transform it into a biomass fuel product. We then sell the reused product to industries such as tea farms, which have large boilers. Our biomass fuel is a replacement for traditional firewood, and the sale of the fuel helps us recover operating costs for running the treatment plant. Another example is our partnership with Malindi Water Utility. Sanitation did the detailed design of the waste-to-value facility, which successfully unlocked $7 million from World Bank and the Kenya national government. But our journey doesn't end here. As the sanitation sector matures and gains attention, we remain committed to scaling up our solution while simultaneously leveraging capital towards sanitation. So far, we have leveraged and enabled over $7.5 million in public funding and have been critical in shaping policy decisions on budget allocation towards sanitation. Sanitation is currently in 8 cities across our product offering. We have done 3 treatment facilities, and 2 more treatment plants based on sanitation technology are coming up. We have also developed projects and identified about $40 million in investment across our target cities. By 2024, we'll be expanding to at least 2 new countries. Sanitation prefers model advocates for public investment with a designated design, build, operate, maintain approach. We're also exploring additional PPP approaches in form of concessional contracts with the national government. The impacts so far have been substantial. Through our waste to value model, we have treated 5,000 tons of waste per month, offsetting 14,000 tons of carbon emission and saving 160,000 trees. Our services have reached over 120,000 people, creating over 150 jobs. The solution has been attracting climate financiers due to its role in both climate mitigation and adaptation. As you can see, the potential of a waste to value approach and its impact are quite significant. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to my colleague Nandita, who is with you in person. Thank you.
I know the people in the videos are listening, either online or here offline, so thank you very much for the videos. And I must say that I like the enthusiasm that I see in the people in the sanitation sector, even when they present these presentations on disruptive technologies that are going on. We are going to move on a bit, and we are going to request for your feedback. So in this instance, I'm going to request Erica to share a QR code, and we would want to get your thoughts about what you feel is the biggest need for disruption, for disruptive technology to emerge. So please, Erica, if you're there in the tech team, please help us bring up the QR code. The people in the session and the people on Zoom, please prepare your phones, have the QR reader ready, and then here we go. It's going to be up for a short while. Give us your thoughts. We would like to hear what you think and where you think disruption needs to come about from a technological dimension. I see a lot of activity. That's a good sign. Yeah, interesting. And remember, you can also vote up answers. Yeah, this is great. We are seeing a lot of ideas moving on from disruption within rural areas. So that's the context kind dimension of it. Then we have infrastructure monitoring. I think we have seen something on technological monitoring of emptying trucks. Yeah, keeping nutrients out of water bodies. I hope we are getting. I hope we are going to also get this feedback back to us when it is really summarized, and we can really see what is really key in this. But we see a lot of ideas coming in, informal settlements popping up, disruption. So there are people in the tech sector. I know there are people working in those contexts. Oh, this is great. There's a lot of responses. Not so easy to keep up, but then scaling, which is something that has been talked about. I think what has been presented has been in different scaling stages. The entire chain, efficient proper service delivery, easing logistics. So yes, in the urban settings, containment, there needs some sort of disruption, and especially with the issues of impact of climate. There's this circularity use of sanitation to restore soil fertility, climate, peri-urban. Yeah, we always tend to forget peri-urban, which is the bridge between the urban and the rural. So I think we need disruption in quite a lot of areas. But what this tells us is that there are opportunities for disruption still. There are opportunities to come up with technologies that together with the people and the institutions and the rules can be used to solve sanitation issues in a disruptive way. And there's a lot on urban poor, and there's a lot on informal settlements also, so I think this is also a point to really think about. So thank you very much. Private investment, so the money side comes in. And so thanks a lot, Erica, and I'm sure after this session we are going to have a feedback with a document summarizing some of these points that have been raised, and we are going to share it back with you. Thanks a lot, Erica, for this. In this moment, I would like to invite Mr. Mike Webster. Mike Webster is the program manager at the 2030 Water Resources Group, and this is a multi-donor fund which is managed by the World Bank Global Practice. And I think he will tell you more about himself and introduce the rest of the panelists. Over to you, Mike.
Thanks a lot, George, and greetings to everyone. Great to see you. And I know we've got about 30 or 40 people online. Panelists, are we monitoring the online activity? So I'm sure there's going to be questions and responses online as well. I want to make sure that the in-person audience and the online person are in sync. We've got a great panel to discuss all of these issues, and we've got a set of questions for them as well as reflecting on what the videos were. I share George's sentiment that it was really exciting to see the energy and the commitment in the room from those videos. There's clearly people that have done this. We've been talking about this for decades, but there seems to be real progress now in certain of these technologies being applied in different parts of the world. So I'm going to introduce the panel and ask them to come up and then go ahead with the questions and start the panel discussion. Let's start with Dr. Zahid Badruddin. I'll introduce you as you come, and then we'll make sure that we get all the right timing. Dr. Badruddin is the mayoral committee for water and sanitation in the city of Cape Town. So that makes him the political head for the Water and Sanitation Directorate that I headed on the administrative side until 3 weeks ago, so he was my political boss. And great to have you here talking about some of the Cape Town experience. We've got Dr. Jennifer Mulwantwa, who's from the Water Research Commission. And WRC is also a South African institution funded by the government and in South Africa. Very extensive research on sanitation and on water. I think it's been going for 50, 60 years. Very rich research in this field. We've got Erin McCusker, who works for Lixil. And Erin is the Senior Vice President for Lixil and works particularly on the SATO project, S-A-T-O, which is a very innovative technology. They have a stand here at Stockholm on a particular technology that's being applied in different parts of Africa and in the world. And she's also on the Toilet Board Coalition and was the chair last year. And then we've also got Lindsay Stradley. Lindsay is the co-founder of the Synergy Collaboration and the executive director of Fresh Life. I think Lindsay is based in Nairobi, and they have, as far as I know, the largest number of people served with their particular technology, and she'll tell us more about that when it comes to the panel. We're also supposed to have Dr. Chari online. Paresa, is he connected? Can we see him on the screen? So I think, so Dr. Chari works for ASCII in India and has done a lot of work in sanitation over many decades in India, in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. He also runs a water innovation hub and worked on the Swachh Bharat program and the many other sanitation programs in India. So I think due to technology, let's start with Dr. Chari. I don't see him online. I don't see him on the video, but I would like to go to Dr. Chari. Are you there?
I'm there, very much there. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Chari. Let me ask a general question to the full panel, and then I'll get a little specific on each of the individuals as we go through. So essentially, we want you to reflect on the videos, if relevant, but also to tell us a bit about what disruptive technologies you've implemented. How was the journey to implement that at scale? And what innovations would be interesting to this audience? So let's start with Dr. Chari. Great to see you again, Dr. Chari. I think I haven't seen you for many decades, but you're looking exactly the same.
Thank you so much. Pleasure seeing you after many decades. Thank you very much. All the videos are super exciting, not just in terms of services, but also in terms of monitoring. This is the need of the hour. So I would say that all the initiatives are extremely promising. Now, I would like to just situate some of this disruptive innovation conversation into the work that's happening in India under the broad thematic focus of citywide inclusive sanitation. We also have a Clean India mission. And as a part of the this Clean India mission, in many of the provinces, many of the states, we have embraced citywide inclusive sanitation program through partnerships with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, through ADBEI and many other partners. Now, as part of the citywide inclusive sanitation, we need to recognize that sanitation is a public service delivery. It can't be just completely market-driven. It is a public service delivery. It is a municipal function in India. And the question now, as part of this understanding that it is a public service delivery, public finance has to come, public institutions have to deliver sanitation. How do you leapfrog the process of delivery of these public services for public health benefits? So the issue is about leapfrogging. Now, for leapfrogging, there are two approaches we are taking. One is about disruptive policies and transformative technologies. Without having a disruptive policy in place, the transformative technologies cannot advance, and that is our experience. So I'll speak about one such initiative, and then we can open for discussion later. In the province of Telangana, and particularly with cities growing very rapidly with high-rise buildings, massive growth of 30, 40, 50%, 100% growth of population is a phenomenal growth. So to accommodate this growth, we have a lot of high-rise buildings coming up, ranging from 30, 40 dwellings to 100 plus dwellings. These are vertical growth in big cities. Now, one of the initiatives, disruptive policy that we introduced is called net neutral building policy and code. The buildings have to be net water neutral. Now, as part of this, it means, like an industry, we have zero liquid discharge. The buildings and the properties shall not release the used water or the wastewater into the external environment. They have to recycle and reuse. And that's a policy. The policy now, we have tightening it. We are bringing it down to 25 buildings, 25 households as a cluster in a building have to have this recycling dual piping system. And that's where the transformative technologies are being created. And there is an intense competition in introducing transformative technologies. So just to speak about some of the technologies, we have in the city of Hyderabad, we have a range of technologies which would treat the water for flushing requirements, for gardening requirements, and for various requirements to make sure that the wastewater doesn't go out after treatment. Now, we cannot absorb complete recycling. So there is a part of the whatever wastewater cycle has to be flushed out after treatment. So we created what is called a water market. This is again a very disruptive thought process where the treated water market is created, which will be used for construction applications, which will be used for public garden applications, which will be used for urban irrigation applications. So there is a vibrant startup ecosystem which is actually managing this whole recycled water reuse program wherever it is excess water is available. Now, as a part of this, we are also bringing in a lot of reinventing toilet programs, which are promoted by some of the partners like Gates Foundation and few other partners. And we are introducing in public toilets. We are now testing some of them in the buildings, high-rise buildings, in cluster of buildings, both community reinventing toilet, household reinventing. This is a work in progress. So the experience so far is that you need to have disruptive policies and create market for different disruptive technologies. And our experience is very, very interesting. It's a work in progress, but we are hoping to see greater traction in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chari, and again, great to see you. I know there's very exciting things happening in India, and ASCII are at the middle of them. Thanks for that input. I hope we'll have some questions for you later, but I would like to just go around the panel first, and then we'll open it up for online and questions from Stockholm. I'd like to go to Dr. Badruddin, and I know Dr. Badruddin does have some slides that he wants to show, so if we could put those up. Over to you, Dr. Badruddin.
Thanks so much, Mike. Good morning, everyone. Just going to pause for a moment to see if the slides are able to load. It's mostly pictures. Oh, it's me and the remote in my hand. So I wanted to start with a picture, perhaps. For those of you who've been to Cape Town, will recognize Table Mountain. Will recognize this beautiful picture. May have seen it on the internet as well. And this is a Cape Town. It does exist. It is there. But also on the other side of the mountain is this reality, where there's growing informality, many expanding informal settlements, which sort of touches on the questions or the answers to the questions that were asked earlier. And this is the community where in our city we are needing to do more and more in order to cope with the growing expansion. At the moment, about 18% of our residents within the city of Cape Town live in a community that you now see on your screen. And I've mentioned about 18.6% living in informal settlement. About 28% of these people in these areas earn less than $184 a month. And it's our standard in the city of Cape Town, in keeping with our national standard, to provide at least one tap to 25 families within these areas and one toilet provision to every 5 households within these areas as well. And the picture on the screen at the moment is quite an interesting one. It's alongside one of our rivers, the Kales River in the city, and this informal settlement that you see next to this river sort of expanded and exploded around the period of COVID-19, where people moved outside of backyards and moved outside of homes into areas where they could find some shelter. And yeah, just a snapshot of a before and after 2019 in one of our communities, Kandu in Kailicha, and then 2023, and you'll perhaps see the expansion from the old community, as we refer it to, and then 2023 expansion. But the important points I wanted to bring across here is that in this sector, in this space, between the period of March 2020 and December 2021, 106 new informal settlements were established. This is 69,000 new structures that aren't linked to any form of water, any form of sanitation within our city. And the costs of bringing in the infrastructure to service these communities is quite astronomical, at least in rands. 263 million rand for capital funding for new taps, new toilets, and then the operating cost of 176 million rand, which is about $13 million, $9 million, respectively. I think the important point here to make as well is that a number of these new informal settlements where it's difficult for us to service find themselves in areas where it's not possible for us to bring services in. So these are on your roads, on your pavements, in your wetlands, in retention, detention ponds, under electrical wiring. And it's quite a challenge because there is a requirement on every local municipality to provide these basic services as per the constitutional rights of every single South African within our country. But alongside that, the perhaps context of where we are at the moment is what you see on the last part of the slide, being the 14,000 chemical toilets that we currently provide to our residents, 8,000 contained toilets, 22,000 portable flushable toilets, which comes to an annual operating cost of about 300 million rand, $15.8 million. So it's quite big numbers that we're working with in the informal sector, which makes the conversation of what else can be done, what technology exists to improve the services within our city, an important conversation, and linking that perhaps to the political will, which has, I think, safe to say, Mike, increased and has supported the administrative space more to drive innovation in the sector. And this year we launched the City of Cape Town Innovation Indaba, so our innovation conference, which then our provincial government, the Western Cape government, sort of tag teamed with us, and it became larger than what we were anticipating. But the point here is that we're open to innovation. We want to innovate in order to improve the type of services that we're delivering in our city. We want to be able to travel this journey with innovators, with entrepreneurs, but importantly, to do so from a space that is transparent to our residents, transparent to the community, nationally, globally, so that we're able to build trust with our residents in order to show them that their basic services, their sanitation services experience is important to us and something that we're committed to improving. And so I'll just move through some of these slides, just perhaps to share one innovation. And this is a facility that was built in 2019. And when I visited the facility with one of the officials, he likened it to a beer bottle cleaning factory, where essentially what happens is that these portable flushable toilets in the picture on my left, you'll see sort of the white container, which is then inserted into a washing hub that then does the sanitation, the injection of the chemical toilets, so that it then goes back to the community in a really dignified way. So here we clean about 26,000 toilets a month, 28 toilets in every 38 seconds, which I think is quite amazing. $21.5 million from an operating perspective, and we treat about 740,000 liters of wastewater every day through this process. But the important point here being is that we've now dignified both the sanitation, both the toilet using experience, we're in the process of doing so, but also the cleaning process, which is an important part of the value chain. And it, as you see in the last point, provides a dignified working condition for those laborers in the area. And I'll perhaps come to that if there's any questions. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Baghdudin. And I think the important takeaway there is that you've got a government, a local government, who has the political will to do something in this area. There are some innovations, but bigger challenges ahead, and there's really a plea for partners in that space, and we are already partnering with the Gates Foundation and others, but a long way to go to actually land some scalable, disruptive technologies in Cape Town. Let's stick with South Africa and the public sector and move to the Water Research Commission. You do a lot of research in this area. I know you've also partnered with the Gates Foundation in Johannesburg. Give us your thoughts on this topic from a research institute's perspective.
Thank you very much, Mike, and thanks. Good morning, everybody. I think for us it's very important, from building on what the City of Cape Town has just presented. Not only do we have areas where we have new and sprouting informal settlements, we've got a huge population, vast lands in South Africa of people that have not been served, that have been marginalized. And now when the climate change impacts are being experienced and we need to make choices around drinking water and dignified sanitation as required by the Constitution, then where do we look to? And I think the work that the WRC has done in the last 10 years, together with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and some of our communities, was to look at really what we call the community reinvented toilets. And in this regard, I mean, the challenge of electricity and energy supply in our country even exacerbates this even more. So what we have looked at some technologies and demonstrated technologies which seek to firstly full recycle the water, secondly also to valorize the products, which means we want to recycle the nutrients, but also we want to look at utilization of solar panels and solar energy in order to be able to operate this. And I think what also the City of Cape Town has indicated is that in areas where there is adequate water, it's very much simple. But in rural South Africa, where groundwater may be the only source of water, and we have to make those choices, that becomes very much important. So what we have picked, and I think what the first speaker, Panelists, also talked about, that we need really revolutionized policy that's going to look at. In South Africa, what we've tried to do is to create a toolbox. So there must be options, because one of the key fair and procurement processes, policies that we have in South Africa is that you have to have options to be able to choose from. So with the WRC, we've looked at the different options, and therefore we are making it possible for local government, local municipalities to have these options. Yes, the expense is still too high because we do not yet have the full manufacturing capacity, but we have looked at the options and seen that with full-scale production, we would be able to reduce the costs. But most importantly, it's also the economy that lies around this that we haven't yet realized, right? We have got a very slow-growing economy. So we will be having manufacturing capabilities. We believe that we will have new skills and capabilities that are trained of people that will not only manufacture, but also do the installation. There is a huge export market that can be realized from this, but also people that do operations and monitoring around this. And so we have been working together with our National Treasury around the policies in terms of procurement to bring in innovation and technology as part of the options that can be looked at by local government. We have demonstrated some of these technologies, particularly in school, in partnership with our basic Department of Education, where the kids in the rural communities are now able to have flushing toilets. And I think the big takeaway for us is that from an equity perspective, you need to be able to experience sanitation or toilet or shit similar to somebody that can be able to experience it in the urban area, in the affluent areas, wherever you are in South Africa. So it is our belief that the Tesla of toilets is the revolution of the future, but also we are meaningful to and be intentional around the fact that where you come from shouldn't be the determinant of the kind of sanitation that you get. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much. So Tesla of the toilet, I think that's queued up for you, Erin. Is Sato the Tesla of the toilet?
I will happily take the title that Sato is the Tesla of the toilets. No, I'm really happy to be here, and I think for me what was interesting reflecting on the videos and then the panelists before me is, we've really shifted in how we talk about sanitation and the issues we're facing into the language of a sanitation economy. So it's so much more beyond just even saying the value chain. We're really talking about, valorizing the outputs, or how do we build in the skilled laborers? How do we bring in the public sector and the policy? And so I think for us, as a private sector company and as a brand, really trying to offer affordable sanitation solutions, we are really seeking to partner and find the partnership models and the business models that enable us to support and grow a broader sanitation economy. And I know Lindsay will talk more about that. And I mean, it was just really great to see that really coming out in some of the videos as well. And I think that mindset shift that has happened has really enabled us to think differently about where some of the value can be created and where new players can come in and drive innovation. Now, for Sato, we are really focused, if you think about the broader sanitation economy, you need people in the sanitation economy for that to work. And what the Sato products do is help get people on that first rung of the ladder. We can bring people into the sanitation economy because we have an affordable, we have an accessible, easy to use product that people then want to keep using. So you can get people into a toilet, they can keep using the toilet, it becomes aspirational, it becomes part of their life. We're also investing in making it safe, dignified, and something where we can build on that as a platform. Without someone having a toilet and having that containment, you can't engage the poo-poo pump. You can't have the Sanergies. You can't have the valorized outputs. And so we really see ourselves as playing that crucial first step and taking what we see as consumer-centric innovation and our supply chain and private sector mindset to really drive and grow demand for the overall sanitation economy. And with the Sato products, it's not just containment. What we really see is that first step, that engagement with the toilet, and I think you said it well, we don't want people to feel like they don't have choices. So how can we, with the Sato brand, create a wide variety of options, of choices for consumers and households to be able to pick a toilet that suits their needs, whether it's squatting or sitting, washing, wiping, of the basics that we're all taught about, but also direct pit, offset pit, people who may need to use a septic tank, a sealed pit. How do we create those tools and make sure that they are also available, accessible, affordable at those points of sales for the households? And then we can continue to partner with the other actors, public, private, in the sanitation economy and grow that really together. So as disruptive as a Tesla of a toilet as Sato can be, sometimes a $4 plastic toilet is that crucial first step that you need to take in order to drive the rest of the innovation. So I'll pause there, if that's all right.
Thanks a lot, Erin. And what I picked up from your stand, which is here in Stockholm as well, is, you're not just talking about it, you've actually reached 45 million people.
Yes.
And you've got a target of 100 million by 2025.
We're going to have a very busy couple of years.
So
yes.
this is going to scale, and that level of affordability, $4 and in that range, is obviously reaching a market that wasn't reached before. Let's move a little bit back from the full private sector, if you like, to Sanergy and Fresh Life. And I think you are private, but somewhere in between private and public, let's say. And you've also gone to scale in Nairobi and elsewhere. So tell us about that, Lindsay.
Great. Thanks, Mike. And first, I guess just to build on where you left off, I think in terms of the videos and the discussion so far, it's really exciting to see technologies that are focused on implementing efficiency, supporting operators to be efficient, to reach everyone, the poorest that are the hardest to reach, and also to help governments hold them accountable for doing that. So that shift of looking at a market and supporting market actors with our technologies, I think is a really exciting focus of a lot of the work that people are talking about today. On our side, as Fresh Life, we're the sanitation service provider within the Sanergy Collaborative. So you can go by either Sanergy or Fresh Life. And we provide container-based sanitation to more than 250,000 people in Kenya. So Nairobi, in Kisumu, and in Eldoret, in partnership with utilities and municipalities. We have a great toilet. It's a beautiful container-based facility, and we have innovative treatment through black soldier fly and other technologies that treats 70,000 tons of sanitation and organic waste annually. But I actually think what makes us disruptive, or maybe transformative, Brian, is actually our service. To kind of pick up where you were, and it's really getting those basics right and making high quality sanitation service provision affordable and accessible to everyone. And that, I believe, that service quality and service level is what's enabled us to scale to that 250,000 people. And just to build that out a little bit, it's about making sure that that we worked from the beginning in designing our services, the products and services, with the communities that we serve, at building an aspirational brand. So definitely, believe I love the toilet, the Tesla of the toilet, and think of Freshlife very much as an aspirational brand. And with that, with the service, with the brand, it's led to market-based, really high market-based demand for subscription container-based sanitation services. And then we've met that demand through really timely, consistent quality service. And that sounds so boring, but I assure you it is tremendously disruptive in the urban informal settlements and other non-sewered areas where we work in Nairobi and beyond. And so that, for example, it looks like when someone wants a toilet, we're going to have it installed in their plot within a week. And we're going to make sure to come collect and actively manage that waste through collections every 1 to 3 days, on time, every time, dependable, and that's a level of service delivery that our customers don't have across other sectors as well. I think then sort of maybe it's obvious, and that leads to sustained demand, and we see then 90% payment rates from our customers, high, the same levels of retention, and then that obviously supports scale. And scale, in turn, when you have a high quality, efficient service, means that we have really low costs, so a fraction of the cost of sewers and other good high quality options, which again, maybe that's, to Clayton Christensen's point, maybe that's what's disruptive, is that low price point to our customers. We do subsidize the price point to our direct customers because we don't think they should be bearing that full price. And then indeed work with partners, including utilities and municipalities, to make that accessible to everyone, as part of a citywide inclusive approach. So I guess it's the service, yes, is my disruptive addition for today.
No, that's a fantastic story, Lindsay. Serving 250,000 people in slums in Kenya with reliable, affordable services for which they're paying at a 90% payment rate is quite groundbreaking. And I know that from Cape Town, that would be our ambition to do that kind of a work. I do want to open it up to the floor. I had hoped we could do online questions, but it's not possible with the Zoom. We'll get the online feedback from the mentee, and we'll do another mentee round after this. But I want to give a chance for people in Stockholm. We've got a great audience here. We've got some real specialists in the field as well. I think there's probably 80 people or so. I can see one hand. I'll take 2 or 3 questions. I've got a few as well, and then we'll do a last round with the panel.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Abhishek. I'm from EAVAG. Thanks for a great set of presentation to both the innovators and the panelists here. My question is about how to bring technologies that have succeeded in the lab scale to the real world scale. And often there's this valley of death that happens between these two, that there's so many scientific breakthroughs that have already happened, which are highly relevant for scaling up perhaps affordable and hard to reach inclusive technologies as well. And I'm curious, how do we bridge this? What has to be done? So it's not specific for any one person, but I'd be keen to hear from any of the panelists who want to take a go at it.
Great. Any other questions, comments from Stockholm? Over there. While you're getting the mic, there is one online which is very relevant to that question. And it's from Govinda in India, I think. And he says, Sato really has offered a user-friendly and portable sanitation solution. However, there's a need to expand this technology in low-income countries. There's need for other actors like Gates Foundation, Brian, and other actors to support and expand this technology in low-income countries to ensure that technology is available at the affordable cost. Okay, so it's very, very similar. How do you scale this? Yes, sir?
Yeah, hi, my name is Max from University of Applied Science in Zurich. I have a question about the Indian experience. It was very interesting what's happening there in terms of decentralization and reuse of water, but I'd be just curious to know about how risk is managed, in terms of meeting the quality that, for the reuse water, and to ensure that it's safe for the people living there? And if this, for example, is monitored by the communities, or is that like done by the municipalities, or who is the responsibility to ensure the quality? Thank you.
There's another two down here.
Hi, thank you. My name's Lucy Stevens from Practical Action. My question is something that was mentioned by one of the videos, but I think the panel can also respond to this, which is there seems to be a critical point, which is about how do you get some kinds of machinery or products really distributed and serviced and operate, maintenance service for things like the poo-poo pump or other kind of emptying technologies, or sometimes those slightly bigger things. We're experimenting with that, and we're trying to expand that in Bangladesh, where there are these kinds of pump side there are initiatives in Kenya. But it's like, what is your experience of the right kind of companies or people to partner with to make sure that you can get those products more available in a wider part of in a wider number of places, which is probably different for products like Sato's products compared to like more bigger kind of machinery that you might need for pumping or something.
Last one in Stockholm. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. My name is Remy from the Containment Sanitation Alliance. I predictably enjoyed Lindsay's points about services and the importance of getting them right with high quality, and it's wonderful to see this in Cape Town and in Kenya. But as Lindsay said, it is provided at an affordable cost and for users, and there's a mismatch between what users are paying and the actual cost of the service. And I feel that there is a lot that needs to be done there. But I do hear a lot about disruptive technologies and a lot about support for creating new products to come to the market. And I have a feeling that we need to see a lot more on services. So I'm wondering what is happening, or from the panel, what should be done now to better support disruptive services in sanitation. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. I'm gonna go back to the panel then, and there's a range of questions, a lot on how to scale this in different geographies, how to look at different service scale options. I'm going to start where I started last time with Dr. Chari in India. There was a specific question on India, but any other reflections you have as well, Dr. Chari?
Thank you very much. I'll go with the first question of Dr. Abhishek from EVA. So, Dr. Abhishek, I think it's a great question. How do you make them to scale up? How do you commercialize them? There are a lot of bright ideas around the market. So I think we encountered a similar problem. So we commissioned a very global study. Dalberg did a study for us, and then we found that 90% of innovations fail to take off in absence of a right kind of ecosystem in place. So the ecosystem should have, ease of doing business for them. So many of them are public service delivery related. So they need to have ease of doing business with the government. They need a ease of financing. They need ease of prototyping. They need ease of mentoring. So that was a genesis for establishing WASH Innovation Hub within ASCII and with the government of Telangana as a partnership. So this WASH Innovation Hub is a mechanism to make sure that the right kind of services are made available for the innovators. One, how do they work with us, with the city and state governments? How do they work with the funders? So we partnered with water.org. We are partnering with an engineering prototype facility called T-Works, that is for ease of engineering, taking an idea and commercializing it. So, and we are also setting up a private sector alliance to help commercialize. I think the solution to scaling up innovation is to create right kind of innovation ecosystem. And surprisingly, globally, we don't have WASH innovation hubs. And that was one of the reasons we started this WASH Innovation Hub in Hyderabad in partnership with the government to ease some of the challenges of scaling up innovation. So that's one response. Sir, on the quality issue, I think is a great question again. So we have looked at this. There are a lot of failures in India on the issue of quality because of lack of poor oversight, regulatory oversight. And because of that, many of the decentralized systems failed. I mean, I've been very, very open in acknowledging it. So what we did was we revisited this whole approach, and we also learned from Jokaso Act, the Japanese on-site systems. And there's a very interesting way of quality assurance, both third-party quality assurance and statutory quality assurance. So the statutory quality assurance is done by the regulatory agencies like the pollution control boards or the local government, but the local government engages third-party agencies to monitor the performance to ensure that this works well. So we are following a similar approach. We borrowed a lot of ideas from the Jokaso Act, and we have embedded in the Telangana decentralized used water management system. This is a work in progress. We are hopeful that we will move in the right direction. Thank you very much.
No, great. Those are very useful insights. And what I'm seeing online is as well, there's some real interest in this WASH Innovation Hub and in this third-party validation of quality from the local government. I'm going to start on that side and move towards this side to respond to any of those questions and any final comment you have. You've got about 2 minutes each, so let's go with Erin.
All right. You can do this. All right, so two main points, I think. One, great questions, and I think the kind of first one, you set the tone, right? You know, we have all these great ideas. We see all these potential problems. We want to innovate. It's not going to have impact unless we start to move these into communities. And so one of the things that I think was our biggest learning from Sato is you actually have to start in the communities. As soon as you can get it out of the lab, Lindsay, this is the iterative process that Sanergy went through in the early days. You know, you have to get it as soon as you can out of the lab in the communities, get feedback, test it under real-world conditions. You know, something as simple as our pit liner, which you guys can see at our booth, you know, that actually has gone through 4 iterations based on different settings, different soil conditions, feedback from users, and that's simple interlocking panels. You know, imagine when we start to get into these more complex systems. To the question around the accessibility and the manufacturing footprint and distribution, that is a huge driver of cost. And we've actually found that it's not only finding local entities that have those capabilities that you can invest in, that have the existing distribution network, but it's also environments. To the online question, we have to be partnering with the public sector on some of the tariffs. Import and export, particularly even for a $4 toilet, can actually swing it from being an affordable product to not. And so when we look at Sato's footprint and how we think about getting these products into more places, we have to look at existing capacity, existing distribution networks, but also where do we have the ability to import and export from those partners to serve more people. On the I want to start at one point on the services. You know, I've been so grateful to be able to partner with the Toilet Board Coalition over the last several years, and their new strategy that is entirely focused on building 1,000 new SMEs, new entrepreneurs. And what we're seeing is that its service models are really one of the biggest categories of the new entrepreneurs that are coming up. And these are entrepreneurs who are seeing that need in their community, and they're designing a model that fits the needs of those communities. And so, you know, when we think about how do we drive that innovation, Remy, right? It's let's listen and see what are these bright entrepreneurs coming up with? How can we invest in them? How can we help them scale? And, you know, really start to learn from them as well. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Erin.
Okay.
Dr. Multwandler, Sanitation Innovation Hub in Water Research Commission?
Yes, we have one in South Africa at one of our universities, but I think what is important is around the regulation. The ISO standards 3500 that has been developed makes this much more important, standardized, you know, world standards, and that you can be able to test. But the other thing, when you spoke about the operation maintenance, you talk about the service. We really need to start realizing there is a whole new skill, and there needs to be training, there needs to be formalization, there needs to be recognition of these people that do this work, because half the time it's the private sector possibly just moving into communities and saying you're selling this. So we have to see the full value proposition that says there is an economy, there's plumbing and engineering as we've known it. It's actually evolving, and we need to look at. But some of the tests that we have done, and I think we need to continuously be doing the research, the development, the enhancement on an ongoing basis. We've had, reports from one of our schools that girls, do attend school more, and, parents and communities taking ownership and saying, we want more of this. So there's a push, not only from the technology side and the developers and the innovators, but also from the communities that say we want better services. Lastly, and I take it down to the choices between available water that needs to be shared. You know, the event of the cell phone, it used to be so expensive, it was only for the affluent, and right now everybody can utilize it. And I think we do not need to only be pitching this innovation and technologies for the poor, but we need to also say there will be incentives for you using less, for you using new innovation and technologies, and saving the water in light of climate change. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Lindsay?
Great. Yes, so on how to scale innovations from lab scale, indeed, as Aaron said, I would iteration, test, and feedback. A couple examples. We have recently been working with Kohler to do field testing of their new container-based sanitation toilet. It's really pretty. You can go see it. And we've also done testing taken things from a lab scale into the field and tested that haven't worked. And that's so important, to figure that out pretty early, that they aren't going to go past that point. So that's different urine reuse technologies that we haven't found to be economically viable, or different dewatering techniques with pit sludge when we've worked with manual emptiers. There will be ways to solve those problems, and there are going to be some that don't work beyond the lab, and so it's important to figure those out and not just iterate, but stop things, or go back a little bit further, a few more steps into that that design, that R&D process before coming back to the field, and then. Lucy, to your question on the costs of, as I think of it in kind of the hardware, the like say trucks and the maintenance of these sorts of things. One of the things places we've really tried to innovate to bring our costs down and to improve the safety we have more than 400 staff, most of whom are from the communities that we serve, and it's critical that we make their work as safe and efficient as possible. And we've invested a lot in mechanization of that active management of that transport of the waste, and that has that we have not found great solutions locally, and so it's either meant taking things that are locally available and some heavy adapting, and then working with regulatory bodies to get them to accept this new thing that doesn't fit any standard, any categories, or finding things that have been designed in other places and bringing them in, and that importation is very expensive. So whether it's that in-house R&D investment or that importing, those are expensive investments that right now at this stage of the innovation curve that we need to make, and hopefully as more SMEs come in doing similar things, more container-based sanitation organizations and others, they can learn from that and hopefully start a little further up that learning curve and that cost curve, because it is a real cost. Yeah.
I think before giving Dr. Badruddin the last word on the panel, I would like Brian Obergast just to respond to some of those comments as well. He's not on the panel, but Gates have become somehow a key benefactor and supporter of a lot of this work, and we thank you for that. But I think it would be useful for some of the others to get some of your responses.
Yeah, thank you. A couple things. One thing is I'd say all the innovation that's happening, whether it's technological innovation or service models, is going to be incredibly relevant to all future innovators. So for instance, we have partners that are working on reinvented toilets at the household level. Well, I imagine that the first way that they will likely go to market will be in low-income communities, will be as a service. Right, a service model. And if you think about the reinvented toilet relative to the container-based toilets that we have today, obviously they're going to be more expensive from a CapEx perspective, but dramatically less expensive from an OpEx perspective. If they only need to be, if they don't need to be emptied kind of 3 times a week, it can be emptied every 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. That could be a dramatically different approach that can help maybe new technologies find a service point. The work that water.org is doing to show how hungry low-income households are to take loans to improve their sanitation experiences, I think also gives us opportunities as well. When I look at the scale that you've driven in Sato, it's remarkable. Like we're very proud. The initial investment in the innovation around Sato was an early Gates investment, but then when Lixil decided that they were going to go to market, we had conversations, could we basically provide additional support to increase the breadth of that launch? And you guys have done tremendous. When we look at the numbers now, and that was just the original Sato Pan, all the innovations that you've done since then that are very needs-driven, but from that making it available, accessible, and affordable to the poor is fantastic. So I really love how we're able to kind of learn from each other as we go and have the future innovators basically kind of step into enabling environments that have already been tested and where you guys have kind of pushed the envelope of what's possible.
Great, thanks a lot, Brian. And sorry not to prep you for that, but I appreciate it. Last word to you, Dr. Badruddin.
Thanks, Mike. I think it was in the second video where the question was asked around who takes the responsibility, and a critical question on a local municipal level in the city of Cape Town. It's very much municipality driven, all of those services, and I wonder if anybody here would be surprised when I say that not a single resident within those informal settlements make any financial contribution to any of the services that they're provided with. And you saw the massive numbers, $15 million that the city puts aside simply to operate that on an annual basis. And so the question of who pays, should they pay, I think is an important one that we've not gone into, but do they need to pay considering the innovation that we've just discussed today and potentially that innovation then funding itself. And so that's a conversation that hopefully together with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation in the city we're going to be really driving as soon as I get back to Cape Town. We're going to be launching the partnership with the mayor, so I'm very excited to get back home, not necessarily to leave Stockholm. And I think an important part perhaps that if I could emphasize here is the relationship with the community, looking at employment opportunities, looking at how they can become part of the sanitation economy, but also from an infrastructure perspective, the simple fact that in our city we struggle with theft and vandalism when it comes to these services, and so how do we strengthen that relationship in partnership with the Gates Foundation, looking at the new technologies that we're about to bring in terms of the pilot process, and especially the fact that phase 1 of 3 phases is only dedicated to dealing and speaking with our community so that they can tell us what their needs are and how we can work together in order to promote and encourage them to look after these services. So I think from a funding perspective, absolutely, we're going to be making some necessary improvements, but also from a partnership relationship perspective with our residents, because they're ultimately who we're working for in terms of the service provision.
Lastly, just to thank very much the panel, Dr. Chari in India and the panel here in Stockholm. Very rich discussion. We'll end it there and hand it back to George. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much to the panelists and the great work you've done, Mike. Thanks a lot. Now we would like to hear your feedback on probably some of the disruptive technologies that you have been involved in, both online and offline. So I will request Erica to share the poll. And as usual, the phone, get ready, and let's get some answers streaming. We would like to hear what has disruption, or what have you disrupted, or what have you seen being disrupted in the space of sanitation technologies? And just to speak a bit to the conversation that has been going on before the answers start streaming in, it's been great to hear words like capacity, partnerships, disrupting policies, disruptive technologies. I think all these go hand in hand with technology, and it is necessary that we see it as so and ensure that the technologies we bring in are also in line with the context that they are in. So, Erica, yes, thanks. So, so someone disrupted waste treatment, improved services. I wish we could get a bit more specific, sort of a bit details on what you did. Yeah, user pay models, this is great. CWISE is a development in social innovation, so that's great. Thinking about technologies in the context of policies and other options. Then municipal services, protecting the environment. Yeah, we also have health. So we are seeing the role of technology in quite a number of sectors that also link to sanitation. Yeah, this is a good one. It changed the view that where you come from determines the human rights you deserve. So that's good change. Cynism is an interesting one. Probably if you wrote cynism, it would be great to hear a bit more about how that disrupted. The ability to know where septage is discharged. Kohler has developed an innovative container toilet in collaboration with Sanaje. Yeah, that's an invite. That's great. So I'm sure they're here. Supply chain in the last mile. I think this is either in the rural areas or in informal settlements, probably. Waste to reuse models. So we are seeing disruption in very many areas and contexts, and also in policies, circular economy, unusual partnerships, and this is popping up quite a lot. So I think it is good to continue thinking about partnerships along the way. Yeah, compost-based sanitation worked very well, simply in extremely complicated institutional settings. So this is ensuring that the technology actually aligns with the institutional context that you are operating in, then helping formalize pit emptiers. This is an area that has been quite left out, but I think there are people also working in this area and trying to disrupt how best this can be improved. Pit emptying services, I'm really grateful that you're writing all this. Happy that I cannot keep up with it because it means there are so many opportunities for disrupting. And being who we are, I would really be happy to hear if there's someone in the room and who has written one of the answers here to give us an idea of what they disrupted. Maybe we can give just 2 opportunities for this, if you don't mind. Yes, please give him the mic. 1 minute only, please. And then the second one, who wants to go second?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it working? Okay. So my name is Ratish Nambutri. I work for Kohler, so I'll just take 30 seconds. We've developed container-based innovation in collaboration with Lindsay and her team at Synergy. So would love for you guys to come take a look and give us feedback on what's working and what's not, and would love to get insights from how we can scale that and bring to market with support from all of you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. One last one. We have 1 minute. Anybody who has seen disruption? Yes, I think we have something here. Yes, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jason from Sato as well, and just wanted to point out, I think it was my colleague that wrote unusual partnerships, and we definitely rely on those. We need those to reach scale. So if you haven't stopped by our booth yet, please do so, and we'd love to talk about unusual partnerships. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you very much for the responses. I'm sorry I have to. Yeah. I think we have 1 minute for you. I think you had your hand up, very enthusiastic. So.
I'll be very quick. This is Lucy Stevens from Practical Action. I just wanted to flag a disruption that we've been supporting within Practical Action, which is called the Global Distributors Collective. So this is focusing on bringing together last mile distributors who might be distributing products that are quite fast moving goods like water filters or perhaps some of the Satopan type products. But the last mile distributors, who are often very small companies, what are the things that they need to help them to make sure those products are reaching the last mile?
Thank you very much for that input. I think in this session there's been a lot to learn on what we need to keep doing, and I think we need to keep working on disruptive technologies. But it is also very clear that we have to associate these disruptive technologies with disruptive policies on the other hand, or align them in this case. And another thing is that we need partnerships, because nobody can really work alone. And I know there's a lot of people talking about these kind of partnerships, unusual partnerships, so that works very well. And the other thing that has also come about is the idea of capacity, so this also needs to be looked into. So to almost end the session, we thank you for for attending, but we still have some time. So I think we have some time to reflect on a few things, on what we should do to continue disrupting, what we should stop doing through disrupting, and what new should we do, ideally. So who has, I think, from the audience, because this is a good opportunity, is there a person from the session who feels that there's something we should stop doing? Is there anyone who feels there's something we should stop doing in the way we are disrupting? Maybe from the online, Palisa, is there something? What should we stop doing? Yeah, Mike. Could you please pass him the mic?
So on the Menti or whatever that thing is, my thing was the disruption that should be stopped was the cynicism. And I do think, you can get tired in this space for a long time, that this is all talk and not really practical and not really scalable. And I think what we saw today, from two specific examples, but from others in the room and from others we know about, things are working and things are taking off. So let's get behind it. Let's create that groundswell. I think there's a tipping point that's going to come at a certain point, and I don't know where that is or at what year that might be, but we want to be at this early starter stage so that tipping point goes through and this actually goes to scale.
Yeah, great. So we should stop cynicism. So we already have people working on disrupting cynicism. So this is great. What should we continue doing? Any ideas? What should we continue doing? Yes?
Yeah, I had a not doing, but I'll flip it. We need to pilot at scale. I mean, we need to partner and go to scale right away. And we don't really know the answers until we try and scale up. So I think we need to actually stop small scale pilots and work together and go big immediately.
So partnerships at scale, but then you raise something which is very interesting, that we don't know how to do it. I think you mentioned this. So this opens up an opportunity for researchers. I think Linda showed a very nice opportunity of the Snapchat app, which is still under a lot of research to think about how best it can be scaled. So then the researchers in the room, you have an opportunity, and I think that is something we should start doing. Or what do you think? Yeah. So thank you very much for attending the session. I would like to especially thank everybody who showed up. I'd also like to thank all the conveners of the session. And specifically, I would like to thank Linda for organizing and doing a lot of legwork to make the session in the background happen. She should have been at stage, but she was quite busy and couldn't attend. I would also want to thank Erica, who is up in very odd hours in the US, making sure that you see the polls. And I would also like to thank all the panelists for giving us very insightful information. And I would hope that everybody learned something in the panel. I would hope everybody gets to know someone new within all of us. And thank you very much for contributing also with the questions and answers. And yes, have a nice day.